Hi there, this is the Ridge Runner with another edition of Pine Home Primitives. And this one, you caught me in the kitchen yet again. And you'll excuse the mess around in the kitchen here. I'm in the process of a number of different projects. But over the past couple of days, I came into a rather interesting windfall of cast iron cookware. Now, you know by my other videos that I'm quite partial to cast iron cookware, but I got this for $8 for an entire set. Now, you can't beat that. You really can't. I got that and a number of other items which you'll see in the future videos. But it came in, well, in this condition right here. This is in the raw. This is the way I got it. And this is a cast iron saucepan. I'd say that's about 2 quarts. It should say on the bottom. Yeah, 2 quart saucepan. And as you can tell, it might have had a season in it at one point, but that was a long time ago. Now, when you get something like this, don't throw it away. The rust, well, it may look kind of bad, but at the end of the day, it's definitely survivable. In fact, I kind of prefer it. Rust makes the material more porous, which makes it take the season a lot easier. This one's a Taiwan-made one. I mean, it's not high quality, but it seems to be pretty solid. There are no cracks, and I'm going to go ahead and season it. Now, to start seasoning, you're going to use one very simple item, and that is cooking oil. Alright, you use either cooking oil, or you can actually use the you can use what some old folks call spry. But let's just call it Crisco, shall we? Now, the nice thing about Crisco is that it comes on in a goopy heap, which means it sticks to the metal a lot longer. This one, of course, is a little bit more adulterated as I keep adding in bacon grease. So, but that's another great material, by the way, for seasoning cast iron pots is nice, clean, I mean clean, bacon grease. Now, I'm going to go ahead and season this in a few minutes. I want to show you the process. Start out with this. It looks horrible, but it is still serviceable. You need to take it over to the sink. Alright. And we will proceed to clean it. Here we are again. I had to turn on the light, but here we go. Now, what you want to do, you really only need, the people say you need scrub brushes and steel wool and all kinds of stuff. Really what you need to do is to get some good warm water on that. Not hot, you don't want to bake your hands off, but you want the water to be a good temperature to heat up the pan. And what I do, I then fill it with water, like so. Cover the whole thing, make sure it's all wet. Oh yeah, make it all nice and wet. And you put some hot water in there. There we are. By the way, this is also a very good test. If there's a crack that you can't see, and you put water in it, chances are you'll know all about the crack. And as I said before, this one doesn't seem to have any. Next thing you want to do, don't use your best sponge. This one's obviously been used for this task before. What you want to do is you want to start going around in there. You want to make sure that this is as scrubbed out as humanly possible. You don't know what the other guy did, and you want to make sure that this doesn't get in your way. There's no nasty stuff on it when you try to start seasoning it. Because once you've seasoned it, whatever's on the pan is on the pan. So if you've got a lump of somebody else's food and you bake that in there, well, you're going to have a time getting it out. Make sure you take special attention to the pot handles. You notice this is bright red with rust. Whatever somebody seasoned it before, they never bothered. And consequently, it has made this thing, well, you can see, it's the rustiest part. Now you want to invert the pot to the bottom. The bottom's important. You want to keep every part of this pot oiled. You do the sides. I'm doing this with one hand, so excuse me if this doesn't seem to be as effective as you might think. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and I'll see you in a second. Well, there we have it, our cleaned cast iron pot. And it's not ready for cooking quite yet, but it is ready to be seasoned. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to use paper towels for this, because you're already in another part of this process going to piss your wife or significant other off. You don't need to do any more of it than you have to. So don't use your dish towels to wipe this out. This is going to get kind of nasty with rust. Or it might. I don't know. Maybe I did a good job and there's not going to be much coming off. But you want this as dry as possible before you put it on the stove. So there we are. Invert it again. There we go. Make sure it's all dry. See, it stole some of my napkin already here. But now I'm not entirely sure about saucepans. I've never known a cast iron saucepan before, at least not intimately. And I don't know whether or not they're a I've always known that boiling things in cast iron wasn't the best choice in the world, but apparently they made it, so for some reason somebody out there thought it might be useful. Alright, well, that's pretty dry. The shine in there is actually what's left of the old season. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this on the stove now. Let's put it over here. That's mashed potatoes that are going to be twice baked potatoes when I get done. And we're going to turn on the stove. And we're going to use a little stove lighter because this being there we are. You want it on high heat. You're not going to be on long. You just want to warm this thing up. You'll know when it's warm enough. You'll see whatever dampness is still on there evaporating off. I don't know if you can see it. Here's some right there. And it's going away. Now, there it goes. Look at the bottom. As it goes up, there you go. Now you know that this is getting warm enough based on the fact that that dampness is going away. And that's obnoxious. Alright. Now we're just basically heating this thing up because what heating up does is open the pores in the cast iron. That allows the oil that you're going to put on next to penetrate as deeply as possible into the cast iron pot. Alright. We don't need to have this so warm. Yeah, it's just barely warm, which is what I want. Alright. Now, to save time, what you would do next is you would take more paper towel and you'd soak it in cooking oil or Crisco and you wipe it on there. And when you get done, you have an oil covered pan. Again, not quite ready for cooking yet. You could start seasoning by cooking at this point, but I don't recommend it. Again, you don't know what the other guy did in it. And the surest way to keep any germs that might be in this pan from becoming a problem is to bake them out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this one here and we're going to put it in the oven. Alright. Now if you'll notice, inside this oven there's a couple of things. One of them is my cast iron pot. This is actually one of the Dutch ovens I got with this set. I've been cooking with it for about a day now, and it's a beautiful pot. I'm going to put this one in here. God, hope it actually fits. And it's in there. Now if you'll notice, you can see there's already a skillet in the bottom there, and it's empty. I got. And it's in the process of being seasoned as we speak. Now at this point all you're doing is you're baking the oil into the pan. This is its first season. I'm going to do it again when I pull it out, and I'm just going to use it on the stove at that point. Now a quick note on putting oil on these cast iron pans when you're seasoning them. Don't spare the oil on the outside. And if it looks like it's going to soak in, put more on. On the inside, stick with nice thin coats. Because what happens if you put too much oil on the inside of here and you start to season it, it'll pool in the bottom and it'll make this nasty black gooey gel. So nice thin coat, and if you need to go over it again, you need to go over it again. Don't try to hurry these operations, because the name of the game with cast iron cooking is slow cooking. So the name of the game of cast iron seasoning is slow seasoning. Because at the end of the day, this is a piece of equipment that will last you a lifetime. Your children will probably be using these if they're so inclined. And you want to make sure that you do the best you can the first time around to ensure that your pan will last that long. Now keep in mind, as soon as this thing's out of the oven and it's still nice and hot, you're going to want to put a little more oil onto the pan. You're going to wipe it in, especially on the inside. What that does, I'm going to use some of this stuff, yeah. What that does is that puts a coating over the top of your season. Alright. You could do this a number of times if you like. Because now that it's out, as long as you don't have a pool in there, it can't hurt to put as much seasoning in there as you want, or as much oil in there as you want. Hot and fresh from the oven. Yep. That's that little skillet we were looking at before. And what I do mean hot, I do mean hot. I could fry up an egg on it just as it is right now. This is a little 6.5-inch skillet, I guess. I'd have to turn it over to be sure, and it's too damn hot to do that with. So that I will tell you is that this is a nice little skillet. And it is not a very large one. It is nice and seasoned. You can see how black that is? Came out real nice. The oil was done evenly and on the inside. Now the beautiful thing about these things, if you keep the seasoning up, which means after you're done, you scrub it out without soap, and then you put another coat of oil in it. You do this a few times, and this thing will come darn near non-stick. Now some tips when dealing with these. When you first get them seasoned up, it's a soft season. You want to wait till it gets hard before you do anything special in it. What I'd say stick with is cooking up hamburger or bacon, that sort of thing. Stay away from acidic foods like tomatoes or anything like that, because it'll cut right through the season. Once you've had a chance to get the seasoning up there, and it's like, or as we pipe smokers might call it, a cake of seasoning on there, it will make it so that you can get away with doing all kinds of things. I mean, you can cook cornbread. You can do, well, actually, hold on. Here's what's left of the cornbread from last night. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, that's the cornbread that I like. And I'll put the recipe in the show notes, just so you guys can see what that is, because I do it a little differently than some people. Not very much differently, but I do love my cornbread. And yep, that's another cast iron pot I seasoned myself. It's an old Griswold, found it at a garage sale for $4, and it too has been a real workhorse for me. Well, that concludes Cast Iron Maintenance 101. And next time we'll be taking some of these things into the field to a truck camping event that I'm going to be doing pretty shortly. And we're going to cook in the woods with these on open fire. And you can see how that works. So, this is the Ridge Runner, signing off.